And you're live.
Great. Hi, everyone. This is Elaine with OKCoin. Thanks for joining today. I know we've had a number of live streams that we're so excited that you guys are continuing to watch and check in and see what cool things we have planned. Today on our Community Leader Series, I have Simon Yu, who is the CEO of StormX. We invited him here to talk to us today about what they're doing over at StormX and how they're redefining DeFi. Simon, good to have you.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Elaine.
Tell us a bit about StormX and your story and what you guys hope to achieve.
Yeah, so StormX is what I like to call the easiest way to, earn crypto. And you can either shop and earn cash back by shopping from stores like Nike, eBay, Adidas. We have hundreds of different stores like Walmart, and earn cash back in the form of crypto. So you can earn in Bitcoin, Ethereum, StormX tokens, Litecoin, some other ones as well. You can also complete micro tasks like playing a new game or checking out different apps or answering some survey questions, and earn that way as well. But yeah, sort of how we got started is both my co-founder Calvin and I, we had supported ourselves financially throughout college, and both of us had worked multiple jobs. And for me, it was like there wasn't really like we were always looking for side incomes because like it was really hard to juggle school and trying to get like a job because I had a full-time job, but like I couldn't take time off to go like study for finals or take an exam or something like that, right? So it was pretty difficult to be flexible in your own time, but at the end of it, all you need is money to support your lifestyle. And there wasn't like a single app where it was easy to do so. So like we wanted to build that, and blockchain really allowed you to scale globally just because at the time like Bitcoin transaction fees were so low, and like sending fiat would cost you like $100 to do internationally from like US to China, for example. But with Bitcoin, it was like a couple cents. But then eventually Bitcoin became like very expensive from a transaction fee perspective as the price continued increasing. And then we pivoted to Ethereum, and Ethereum had a similar effect as well too. And price jumped up from like $10 to $430, and then we realized that okay, we have to come up with our own solution, and that's where we created the Storm token that amplifies the way that we're able to send out rewards to users across the world. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, so you guys have been around for a while, right? I think you said 6 years.
Yeah.
So,
I've been doing it for about 6 years. Yeah, my co-founder been doing it longer. Yeah.
so then 6 years, six, seven, however many years ago, how did you guys come across Bitcoin and like the fact that you saw Bitcoin and blockchain as a scalable solution so early on, I think is something that is really interesting. Like, how did you guys like? Where did that conviction come from?
Yeah. So my last job, I was in banking and I hated it. But I saw all the fees that were happening just from our bank, internally. I was in the corporate offices, but you know, Bitcoin just kept appearing on the news for all the wrong reasons, right? It was because of Mount Gox and Silk Road, so everyone thought it was like money laundering or drug smuggling. So it was always on the press for all the negative reasons. But I became curious and like at the technology behind it, so I started reading the white paper, Satoshi's white paper, and then that's what really got me excited and started playing around with some of the wallets and exchanges and stuff like that, and then that's when I realized, holy crap, this is going to be the next version of fintech. Like fintech hasn't even evolved yet, but this is going to disrupt how we send value internationally. So, like the way that I really saw the potential was like, back when I was a kid, our family still had relatives in Korea, so they would use like prepaid phone cards, because like calling internationally was just so expensive. Um, but then, like VoIP, voice over internet protocol started coming in, and then like Skype and MSN and all these like different platforms, and eventually killed the fees, right? So it became free to call internationally. So now we don't even think about it when we're calling friends or families like halfway across the world because we have like Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, and Telegram, and all these different channels. But it wasn't always like that. It was really expensive. Like it was like $20 to call someone for like 20 minutes. And then, eventually technology caught up and the fees were almost zero. So we're probably seeing the similar effect with payments, right? So like, why does it cost $100 to send someone a wire, plus the foreign transaction fee spread? Like, it's just ridiculous how much we have to pay to send value across. And, I think, blockchain technology is just like, it disrupts that so greatly, just because like, one, you only send what's in the ledger and what's available in the balance. There's no overdraft, which is really awesome. And then two, it's instant, and I can do it at 3 or 4 in the morning, or I can do it on a weekend, and that's amazing as well. And the fees, although there's some scaling issues with some layer one companies, it is still, for the most part, still a lot more affordable than the traditional methods out there. So.
Yeah, I think as we've been doing a number of these kind of chats with various people in the ecosystem, I think it's just been really interesting hearing like the backstory to how these companies or how they get into crypto. And I just think it's really interesting that the predominant way that people tend to get into crypto, at least on when they come up and like create like either new protocols or new assets, is on the more utility side, right? There's like a very clear use case that people are trying to find a solution to, and they just end up at crypto or blockchain. And I think that's something that being within the industry has been kind of really validating. Like I feel like you said, like externally, all the info is more just like, okay, like scandals or like Mount Gox or Silk Road, like you said. But in actuality, there are a lot of people who are building utility and trying to fit these like user use cases, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, and I mean with the internet too, right? So it was, like it took time, but the technology was there, and then it's just more and more use cases kept coming out, and that's what led to more people adopting it, and more people using the platform. And I think we're seeing similar effects with blockchain as well, right? So
yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
So, you guys started StormX because of a really discrete need that you guys had, right? Which was the ability to earn in one place super easily, super conveniently. Talk to us about how you guys set up StormX. Like, what's your founding story?
Yeah, no, our founding story is definitely unique. So for me, I was always really curious about, just entrepreneurship. So while I was working in banking, I had started a food truck business on the side. And then that actually came out because when I was a sophomore in college, my parents had a small business and it didn't do too well. So I ended up having to drop out, getting a full-time job. And then I still didn't have money for paying rent. So I started delivering Korean tacos as a way to just survive and just provide more income. So sorry about my cat if you can hear her.
No, that's okay. Does he
Yeah.
want to join?
Yeah, she always seems to find me somehow in the Zoom calls. But yeah, and then so I started like selling Korean tacos to kids around our university, which is University of Washington, and ended up just hustling for side income, and that eventually became a food truck business, and we would focus on like catering and stuff like that. And Calvin, my co-founder, had graduated the same university as I did, but he was a computer science major, and we hadn't met in college. But he was developing this Bitcoin application, and he wanted to find a day job, which was to apply to be my manager of the food truck, and that's how we originally met. So we would, geek out about Bitcoin all the time, and then I eventually quit my day job in banking to do this full time. And in the beginning, sorry about that cat. Yeah, in the beginning, like I still had like student loans and stuff like that. So I wasn't in like a really great financial position because I put all my money into building this food truck business, and then also trying to support myself. And so I ended up driving for like Uber and Lyft while we were building StormX originally, and just like hustled our way, in the beginning to just fund everything, right? And like maxing out all our credit cards. So we were trying to get funding. But at the time, like I said, Bitcoin was viewed so negatively. Like every investor had thought that this was some sort of money laundering or drug smuggling tool. And because of that, like we had ended up having to bootstrap for about 3 years. And then eventually we got some funding and we were able to continue building out our platform, and it just kept growing and growing. And yeah, ultimately, I think we've had about 3 million downloads so far, and just kept expanding more and more use cases on the ability to earn.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, a couple of things. I think can you mute one of your notifications? I think maybe there's like some pinging going on.
Yeah, let me try to do that.
And I would just like to say, I'm sure all the pinging is because we are taking you away from some very important work. So I do
Yeah.
appreciate you taking time to chat with me.
Yeah, I think the work never stops, no matter.
No, that that is very true. I can just see like my notifications like blinking too. But this is also really important because I think it's just really good to show how people are actually building and like what's under the hood.
Yeah.
And I think hearing you and your co-founder Calvin's motivations to like building StormX, I'm sure it resonates with a lot of people, right? The ability to earn, easily, and just have it kind of work for you, right? Like when you actually need to build wealth and use it to advance kind of like your own vision for what you think like the world or society should look at or should look like, you need to have that flexibility, right? To be able to just dictate and determine how you are working.
Mhm. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and more of the workforce is, pivoting to online, right? So, it's you don't need like a physical job no longer to be able to do any kind of labor work. You can now do a lot of jobs remotely, and then especially during COVID, we've seen that evolution happening even faster. So, there's 7 billion people on Earth. You should be able to hire or work halfway across the world, and we're excited to build a future with that with StormX. So.
Absolutely. That's a really exciting point that I do want to kind of ask you about in a second. But we were talking a bit about your hustle, how you guys created StormX, how you guys really kind of bootstrapped your business and your vision. How have you guys continued to drive adoption for StormX, right? Like you guys in the past couple of years have really grown into this really unique marketplace almost. How have you guys got there?
Yeah, honestly, just lots of building, trial and error, and technology also catching up as well too, right? So, we first started with just Bitcoin, and the original app was just earning, Bitcoin by watching a short video. It's like earn 2/10 of a penny in Bitcoin, which is, probably worth a lot more now because Bitcoin was like $200 back then. But then still, and then, we evolved and allowed users to earn by completing microtasks, by, checking out different apps and, doing surveys and all that stuff. And then we eventually added, cashback in early 2020. And, a few years down the line, we want to build towards gigs. And, and a lot of and I think you mentioned this before too, with like DeFi, like it's been super interesting for us just because of the technology that DeFi has been able to create, which is just using smart contracts to just be able to automate everything, and allowing just like a governance model that allows users to vote on their own platform. And that's we're expanding on those models as well. The challenge is though, most of the DeFi products and just a lot of crypto products too are just too hard for the average day users. So, and internally we spend a lot of time trying to make it as easy as possible for anyone to be able to use, right? So it doesn't have to be perfect, but now I think it's a lot better because we have like onboarding channels directly in the app as well. Like that wasn't possible before, like having Storm token and being able to convert it into US dollar, like that was really tough. But now it's, we have partner platforms that do that, but the partner platforms didn't exist a few years ago. So technology has caught up with that. We're also launching a crypto debit card that allows you to earn cashback. So, when you earn the Storm tokens from our app, you'll be able to spend it easily, just, at any retailer. And that kind of technology didn't really exist a few years back as well, too. So there's that side. But then, just on our side, we're trying to focus internally as well on how can we make this easier, going back to that point. And we launched staking as a way for users to earn an additional layer of rewards as well. But most staking platforms, you have to go on web and things like that. But we were, I think, one of the first or earlier companies to launch on mobile. So most of our users are on iOS or Android, and so we made it, as easily as accessible to stake your tokens on mobile as well too, and be able to connect to your wallet and things like that. So user experience, I think, is one of the hardest points right now. I still think like we're in the stages where in blockchain right now where AOL was back in the late 90s, everyone using dial-up and trying to IM your friends like all the time and after school and stuff like that. We're still early on, everything is like really expensive and it takes a long time, but yeah, in like 5 to 10 years it's going to be really exciting because there will be mass adoption, right? So
Yeah, absolutely. I think the fact that you brought up ease, I think is so important, right? Like ease, user experience are definitely things that we're learning as DeFi gets more popular as something that we really need to focus on, right? I think it's something that we've been working on as well. Like we recently released our new Earn product, which basically simplifies the overall like DeFi earning experience, right? And for us, like it's because we saw this really kind of open and really like I guess big use case for having like ease of use for DeFi earning. Although I did want to say, and we were chatting about this a little bit before we went live, but the DeFi in like lending pools and earning feels a little bit different than the DeFi that you guys are working towards, right? In terms of like earning and kind of like that type of wealth generation. How do you guys think about it?
yeah, so I think there's really two camps on the DeFi front. I think there's the useful companies, like Compound and Aave, and just being able to like I tried, I was able to get like a loan using Aave, like 5 seconds, and I think that's really amazing. Like that kind of technology doesn't exist with banking because it takes so much paperwork and all these middlemen and stuff like that to get loans processed. And then the second camp is there has been a lot of just kind of like useless, just yield farming stuff that's been appearing. But that's been generating a lot of hype. But then at the end of the day, I think DeFi, what it did really well was that there was a new way to earn, right? So there's like Y vaults and stuff like that where they're experimenting with different strategies, and there's different ways to earn. At the end of the day, people are trying to earn a return, right? So earn money online. So we're trying to incorporate some of those on what makes sense to add it as a layer in terms of like we already have a pretty good utility with our token with our application, which is if you have StormX tokens, you get higher cashback and you get better rewards. But if we could stack some of the DeFi layers on top of what we're doing to provide another avenue for users to be able to earn, that makes another strong use case for us. And so it might not be perfectly DeFi in terms of like a perfect lending protocol or stuff like that, but we're taking the best components into our current technology to make it more useful and giving people a way to earn additionally. So.
Yeah, so are you saying that, you know, let's say like a year or so ever down the line, like if I wanted to, like StormX would just be the place where I can either shop at Nike while earning and also completing a couple of like micro tasks. Let's say I'm like on the subway or whatever, in a distant future where I would use public transportation again, or whatever. But I could also be able to use the DeFi lending protocols to kind of do that as well. Like, is that what you guys are thinking about?
Yeah, and just combining all the best aspects of blockchain into one where
Yeah.
users can just come and find a single place to earn. And that just goes back to our vision, right? So like, Calvin and myself, we're always sort of, hustling to find a different way to earn money online back when we were in college. And, we want to make that process as easy as possible for our users. And I think that's where the real big value is with StormX. And trying to make that easy for as many people as possible. And that's honestly the higher challenge that we'll be trying to tackle along the way. So.
Absolutely. I think that would be really exciting. And yeah, that would be really cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, um, you guys have seen the crypto industry change, right? Since Mt. Gox, since kind of like more unsavory kind of opinions about it. What do you think the next 5 years look like?
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously right now we're in like a bull market euphoria and everyone's really excited with the stimulus and trillions of dollars being pumped into the global economies. But you know, I Bitcoin just hit right $1 trillion fully diluted market cap like yesterday, right? And this is great, and I do think that there's a lot more upside, but I think the big challenge that we'll face in the next few years is regulations, because if Bitcoin threatens the ability for large powers to print money at will, the government will definitely try to slow it down, right? And I know there's a decentralized aspect of it, and that's why we all love Bitcoin, for example. But then at the end of the day, we all still live in countries where we're residents of different places where there's money that's being printed. And I think I saw an article yesterday where they're talking about Nigeria. They're banning Bitcoin, right? And they were saying that Bitcoin had made the Nigerian currency useless. And like that's why they were putting a pause to it. And yeah, I mean, right now, I don't think it's threatening the ability for US dollars being printed, but if it does, then it's going to be a lot more serious. So, I mean, as a founder building this space, I'm really bullish about technology and, even, price and all that stuff like going forward, but there will definitely be hurdles in the next few years before we truly see mass adoption, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And as a founder, and definitely one that's leading a very like utility driven ecosystem, um, how do you guys see either StormX like in a vacuum or StormX's kind of relationship to the broader crypto ecosystem in 5 years, right? Like are regulations things that you guys are worried about? And if so, how are you managing that?
Yeah, no, I mean, originally we started in the US and, mostly based in Singapore now, but yeah, as a US resident, I'm really hoping that the US doesn't decide to just, close this industry off for good, right? So there's been a lot of companies that struggled and, have voiced their concerns about how difficult it is to operate in the US, versus like Singapore, some Asian companies or Asian countries, for example, like where they're more open to the innovation, right? So, unfortunately, I think a lot of it has to do with lobbying and like the crypto happens to disrupt, for the most part, like banking, which is, probably the largest industry outside of governments, right? So it's a powerful, industry to fight. And, Wall Street and the bankers are not pleased that fintech companies are starting to disrupt them. And you're seeing like Stripe and like even like Apple and, um, all these companies starting to disrupt and take their market share away because their fees and they were making so much money before. But then now blockchain comes in and then they're going to do whatever they can to try to lobby against, this new industry. But, if we do close down the innovation, we're going to miss a huge wave of entrepreneurship or just capital and just like lots of job creation and just everything in general. And I think the US is so strong right now because we did have the internet boom starting here and mostly in Silicon Valley and the West Coast. But if we miss out on this wave, the power could shift easily to other countries as well. So yeah.
Yeah, I think you guys actually have a really unique vantage point. So currently, there are a number of pretty big name brands that are available on StormX, right? Um, what has kind of the interaction with these brands, or like whether like from a corporate level or the existing demographics or user bases of these brands, like what has that interaction been in terms of like introducing crypto and blockchain to these maybe non-crypto native users?
Yeah. So yeah, we were trying to talk to some brands. It's always hard to try to say like, like, hey, we're this crypto application, we offer cashback on earning and stuff like that. And The process has been getting a lot easier because like in the beginning, whenever people have heard Bitcoin or crypto, like a lot of companies just said, F you, we're not going to do anything with this. But now it's just, you hear about Tesla and Square, and it's just more and more adoption just keeps happening, right? So more companies are getting pressured by, whether it's board members or shareholders to, or their customers to involve crypto somehow, right? So I think a couple of days ago, we saw like Uber announced that, they're not going to put the treasury conversation just passed without much thought, and their stock price went down like significantly, right? So a lot of companies are starting to think about it, crypto in a different way. But for us, like, I think our process through onboarding brands has been a lot easier because at the end of the day, we're helping these brands drive more sales. It's like they, we help people shop at, all these different brands like Nike or whatever. And um, at the end of the day, we help them drive more revenue, right? And for the users, we're getting the discounts that we're passing on to the users, and the users earn, the brands earn, and we earn a tiny bit of commission for each of the transactions. So I really love our business model just because like when our users earn money, we also earn money as well, and our brands also earn money. So because of that reason, it has been a lot easier to onboard. And then, yeah, just like I mean, for us too, we have been fortunate with COVID because, a lot of the physical stores have been closing down, and a lot of the volume has shifted to e-commerce. And as a reason, a lot of these brands are trying to compete with Amazon. So it's been easier for us to onboard from that perspective as well, outside of crypto. So.
Yeah. Talk to us a bit about like what so I think overall, obviously COVID is it's a pandemic and it's terrible, and it's been really disruptive in a very negative way for many people. But talk to me about how, if any, like what opportunity kind of changing work and social norms and like buying behavior has provided you guys. Um,
Yeah. So we happened to launch, shop on StormX, the cashback portion, like right as the pandemic hit. So we've been seeing, huge growth. But I mean, I think the reason why our application is just useful in general is because it just provides another avenue for passive income, right? It's like you would have been shopping at all these brands anyway, and we're just providing an extra way of cashback. We do all the hard work and negotiating all the rates and stuff like that. And, as a user, you just have to use our platform and find a way to earn different, cashback applications from our platform. And then, it has been also exciting because like Bitcoin, Ethereum, like all the crypto has been appreciating as well. So some of our earlier users are, you know, very happy because it like paid off for their purchases. So whatever they bought, they got that plus more because crypto had kept going up. So yeah, it's been pretty interesting. But yeah, just to shift in dynamic. Yeah, just I know, especially like I really like our platform. I originally thought that there was going to be a huge recession that was going to hit, back in March, just because like the unemployment rate was so high and there's so many physical jobs that are required, and then governments start to just launch helicopter money. But outside of that, like we wanted to like we thought our platform would do well because people needed so much more money, and like every dollar would help. And so for us, like I think in a recession kind of platform, like more users would use us because it's every dollar is more important than before, and that's what I'm really excited about, is providing ways for users to earn.
yeah. And I think that's what's been so great. Like being in crypto this year has been, I think, prior to the pandemic, the crypto was seen as almost like, or crypto trading, right, was seen as almost leisure behavior, right? Like people who had wealth could trade and, generate, profit because of the volatility of these assets, right? And then when push comes to shove, you actually see that crypto is truly useful in empowering users to control their own wealth generation, right? And so I think that's been really powerful. And then I've been thinking recently, we say passive income a lot too, right? Because you stake an asset or you deposit an asset, and then you're earning, right? But it's like exponential or like compound earning, right? Because like you said, these assets keep appreciating in value. So I almost sometimes feel like the phrase passive income or like passive earning is almost a little bit deceptive, right?
Yeah. I mean, it like the compounding effect. I think a lot of people have saw that with the stock markets, especially this year, right? Like any retail, I mean, it does seem like a bubble, but any retail investor that had gone into Tesla, they're just seeing wealth that they've never seen before, and you're seeing all these people on TikTok and like I saw like a 12-year-old a few days ago on, just it was being reshared on Twitter. It's just super fascinating. Although like, it does smell like a bubble and it smells a little bit dangerous. I am really curious, like fascinated because man, the young kids of this generation, they grew up on like Zoom and technology and they're trading stocks at, that's something that I wasn't doing at their age, right? So that means that they're way more sophisticated than, our generation was. So when these guys, go into the workforce, they're going to build some really cool stuff that has never, been seen or even thought of before. And like, I think that the Gen Z technology boom will be exponentially greater than what it is right now, which I'm looking forward to as well. So
Yeah, I say this all the time, and I'm sure he gets so embarrassed whenever I say it, but Zach on our team, who literally graduated from UW last year, right?
yeah.
He's been trading Bitcoin since he was 13.
Oh wow.
And I'm just like, what was I doing when I was 13? I was definitely not like making good financial choices for myself. So I totally hear you on like Gen Z and like kind of what that new wave of I don't know, it's almost like this like different like generational consciousness, right? Like they know, like they have very clear ideals and like are very active in trying to figure out how to get there. Zach is just pinging me. But yeah, I think this is really great. Like you said, like I don't know, the young kids are really smart these days. Like there's actually this Bitcoin core developer who also just graduated from Berkeley. Her name's Gloria, and she's just incredible, right? And you just see like these young people come up and like really try and change what they see as broken for the better. So it's been really cool.
Yeah, I'm excited for the future.
Yeah. So speaking about cool people, we have a couple of really interesting questions from the community that I'd love to ask you.
Yeah.
The first is where did it go? The first is here we go. From Lex from YouTube. Can you talk a bit about your team behind the product? Who is StormX?
Yeah, we have a pretty global and diverse team, which is what I think it's really cool from a technology perspective is our team is really decentralized. So we have a couple folks in Seattle, including myself, Calvin, our product lead, Alex, and Brad is our account manager, and a couple of people on the accounting team, and we have our marketing team with Martine and Matt, and we have developers in Europe, and we have customer support team in the Philippines, and we have just primarily we're in like 3 continents, which is really exciting, and we have been doing the whole Zoom thing for a while now, and that's been pretty exciting. One sort of like pivot in terms of how the bear market affected us was after 2017, like everything was awesome, like revenue and users and everything was like doing extremely well because people were so interested in crypto, and then we saw like everything fall in 2018, right? So for us, like we had to cut down our burn significantly. So we had there was a lot of pressure for us to build just because we had raised so much money, and everyone had such big expectations. So we scaled a really big team pretty quickly. Most of the people being in Seattle, and it was very expensive, right? But like the downside of Seattle was like, although there's really good talent out there, it was really tough to compete on a salary basis because we're a startup and we're competing with Amazon and Microsoft, right? So whatever we offered our developers, Amazon and Microsoft would offer double, and it's just something that was really impossible. And for us to maintain, it just became expensive, and we're trying to compete on a global level with all these other brands. And ultimately, we had to do like a big downsize and cut our burn, and had to let go of a lot of really smart people, unfortunately. But started looking for talent, just globally, and just going back to sort of like what our vision is too, and we're living that as a company itself. We're hiring from people all over the world, and the fact that we don't need a physical office is really amazing. And yeah, even though COVID had an effect for a lot of companies because everyone was going to work in a physical office, like we sort of didn't see that much impact on our front because we've been doing it for a while. So
Gotcha.
yeah.
Yeah, we definitely had to learn very quickly how to work in a distributed manner. And I think we do a good job, but it definitely comes with its own challenges.
Yeah.
Here's another question. From Curtis on YouTube. I want to be a StormX ambassador. Is that a thing?
Huh. No, not a thing yet, but yeah, something to look into. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Good idea.
And then, from Thomas, also on YouTube, in your mind, what is the difference between value-based crypto and altcoins that target specific economic sectors? For example, I read Tron is targeting the entertainment industry.
Not sure how to respond to that. I wasn't even aware Tron was, the industry. They seem to be doing a lot of stuff. But anyway, yeah, I mean, like for me, like there's a lot of cryptos out there, and I've traded crypto, for a while as well too. But for me, I'm always bullish on the projects that have real utility, and that's what we've been always focusing on our project as well too. Is just like, why do you actually need this token? And that's like back in the ICO days, like where 2017, 18 happened, like everyone was raising money, and there like a lot of those companies couldn't answer the question, right? Like you don't actually need a token for the platform, and they were just like trying to raise money. And um, like fast forward like 4 years down the line, I think there are like a few companies that have really done well in terms of like why you need a token, and like not just including ours, but like several DeFi tokens as well too. And then there's also like Celsius or stuff like that where you can get higher interest rates if you're holding their tokens. And there's like other forms like ETH too. Like originally, the use case was like people were or companies were raising ETH, and so that's why there were massive treasuries being held on ETH. But the only good use case was like to dump it, right? Because people needed treasury like fiat in order to launch their companies, and so that's why we saw this big sell pressure coming from ETH. And we didn't need like to hold $10,000 of ETH when you're just sending like $10 or $20 worth of gas. Like it just that wasn't a good use case. However, now we're seeing a completely different dynamic because DeFi is requiring you to put collateral with ETH, and also there's so many DeFi products out there that require Ethereum to send like smart contracts, and the scale in terms of the actual usage is exponentially higher, and that's why we're seeing organically like ETH is at like $1,700-$1,800, and totally seeing that happen. So I still think like 99% of crypto honestly is crap, and like there's prices might go up temporarily because like there's hype or speculation or whatnot, but if there's no like fundamental utility behind like why you need the token, everything is going to crash. And we've seen this happen like so many different times, not just in 2017, but like 2014. Look at the top 10 coin market cap. Like you're not going to see most of those companies there now. Like they're just gone. Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you. I think I can give an interesting perspective on this as well. So I also lead the OKCoin listing team, and yes, there are a lot of assets out there. And the question that our team always asks is, why do you exist, right? Why do you need an asset? And it's actually like it seems like a simple question, but it's been quite difficult to answer, right? And there are projects out there who answer it really well. And then there are others that still need a little bit of work to identify like what the actual use case is and kind of what value they're providing to the ecosystem that people truly need. And so I think that's one of our favorite questions to ask. Thomas, I think my answer to your question would be there are different types of crypto assets, right? There's the one bucket like StormX, which are like truly utility driven, right? Like I would almost categorize like StormX and like BAT as like very similar, very discrete use cases where you actually need this asset in order to participate, right? So those like truly like very like scoped out utility assets. Then there are other assets like I would say like Avalanche or like Algo or Stacks that really create opportunities for you to build on different protocol layers, right? And so they're just different assets that have different use cases. But the key question I would ask, and Thomas, this is what you were getting to, is make sure that they are value based, right? Like make sure that these assets that you are investing in are providing either your portfolio some value or are aligned with kind of other ideals you have for crypto as a whole. So my 2 cents there.
Yeah.
So another question here. Good news today from Miami's mayor, who wants to allow people to get paid in Bitcoin. What are your thoughts on developments like this? I know we had talked about regulation slightly earlier.
Yeah, no, I'm truly excited, Not only are we seeing like institutions getting into Bitcoin, but we're seeing, local governments getting involved, and like that's a great sign, and I think we also saw an announcement that Venmo is going to support crypto as well too, right? So that it's just more and more channels that make it easier. I think it's going to be, better. But like over the past year, like we've saw like some athletes like taking their payments in Bitcoin, for example, too. And, the more, and yeah, it's just really excited. And I'm just every day, I read the news and there seems to be more and more adoption and, good use cases coming out. And yeah, I don't know what to say other than the fact that I'm excited. And I think more and more people should try to evangelize and try to make, crypto bigger. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think that brings us to our last section, which is our rapid fire. So I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, and you have you have to answer them like super quickly, 1-word answers. Just trying to get your gut reaction and knee-jerk reaction to these questions.
Okay.
Okay, ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so do you feel Bitcoin will hit 100K by the end of the year?
Yes.
What in your mind is the most underrated token or project or ecosystem in the space right now?
StormX.
What part of the crypto industry do we anticipate, or do you anticipate to see more success in 2021?
Retail adoption.
Okay. And 1 word to describe 2021.
Euphoria.
Okay, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've heard a lot about kind of like StormX and the great work that you guys are doing, and really how you empower individuals for their own like wealth generation and earning. Where can we find StormX?
Yeah, you can download the app on iOS or Android. You can also go to our website, stormx.io. Find us on Twitter, or you can join our Telegram group. Yeah, we're always happy to respond to questions, and yeah, we really appreciate the feedback. Our community has been really strong, and our users have been really amazing. And we take feedback pretty seriously. I'm always online, and I say, hey, have you checked out this feedback from our user, and we should incorporate this. And our team's pretty fast to execute. So yeah, if you think of a great idea, just keep them coming, and we'll try to build it as quickly as we can. So.
Absolutely. And it sounds like you guys might be creating a new ambassador program or something.
Yeah, no, we'll have to look into that. That's awesome.
Great. Well, thanks, Simon, for joining us. Really excited to see how StormX continues to grow. And I agree with you. I think the retail adoption is going to be big this year.
Yeah.
So really excited to see that.
Yeah, thanks.